Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And if you're not, your day's about to get a lot better because the second stimulus check has been coin-firmed. Get it? Because it's a coin and it's been coin-firmed. Never mind. Today we're talking about everything that's related to Congress, both in the Senate and in the House, because there's finally been some good, juicy news. But before we get into that, let's first mention the bad news. Now, this isn't really related, but Regis Philbin is no longer with us. And if you don't know who that was, or if you're too young to remember, he was a guy who used to host a show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And he also held the Guinness World Record for the most hours on television ever, which makes total sense because when I was younger, that was literally my favorite show. So Regis Philbin, you will be remembered. So let's begin with the stimulus package news because we are now 18 weeks in a row where more than 1 million people have claimed unemployment benefits. And if you're one of the 31.8 million Americans who's receiving that benefit, that $600 weekly is going to go away at the end of this month in July. And the two sides representing the two parties, Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin for the Republicans, have a disagreement on what to do about this benefit. Should we extend it and let people continue paying their bills on time, or should we reduce it or get rid of it entirely and give people an incentive to encourage them to get back to work? Now, there's obviously been a lot of disagreement over that $600 weekly unemployment benefit because the Republicans argued that that was just way too much money, but it was necessary after the pandemic hit because everyone needed that money. So the president and the Federal Reserve, ooh, this one works way better. Papa Powell's Federal Reserve printing machine, he had the odd job of printing an infinite amount of money. And yes, that was a Golden Gun reference from 007. So this time around, they want to prevent that situation from happening again, and the idea is to implement a system that's going to pay us 70% of our incomes instead of over 100%. But there's a few problems with this, and the first is that it's not 100% clear yet as to how the government will independently cater to each individual person because they just don't have those kind of resources. But taking that 70% figure that the Republicans are talking about, then that means the average weekly benefit will be as low as $100 a week to as high as $300 a week. Of course, the Democrats would rather extend or phase out that $600 weekly limit, but if it doesn't, it's not a deal breaker for them. So more than likely, we'll see both the Senate and the House come together to some sort of an agreement this week. Finally, we're gonna get a compromise, and I think the average will be probably somewhere between $200 to $300, which is still not quite $600, but it's better than nothing. The good news is that the stimulus checks have finally and officially been confirmed, and we're finally getting the sequel that we've always wanted. Nobody right now knows what the final amount will be once it's negotiated on this week, but more than likely expect the same $1,200 to hit your bank accounts or to be sent the checks, and I'm just happy that the Senate has finally agreed to a second round. It took long enough. But now that the Senate has proposed its plan, the House will debate exactly what they like and what they don't like on Tuesday, the 28th of this week, so that's literally tomorrow. So hopefully they can come to some decision and some agreement before August 7th, because if not, it's peanut butter jelly time. That means they're gonna go on recess for a month, which is insane that that's even an option. But I suppose when you're a senator making $150 to $200K a year, you can wait a month or two. Unfortunately, most US households cannot because they don't make $200K a year. Instead, they make anywhere between $40 to $50K a year, so maybe let's come to a consensus and let's get it done. But once they do, if President Donald Trump can sign that bill by August 10th, then the checks will be sent out the week of August 24th. And it can be done even sooner if the payment is about the same and they can use the same process with the IRS Get My Payment tool, which we all know, love, and use and rage quit over. It's not the best implementation, but at least it works to some degree. In addition to direct payments and the unemployment benefits, there's a few other things that Republicans want to give to the Democrats, which I'm sure the Democrats will devour right away. And one of those things is giving $105 billion to the school systems to actually reopen. But the catch is they can't pay themselves and they can't just pay their lawsuits. They actually have to reopen, and that's what it's dependent on, which I think is a very good idea. They'll also provide targeted money for the PPP, or the Paycheck Protection Program, which, remember, is a program that gives small businesses money that they theoretically don't have to pay back if they could use it within a certain number of criteria, like actually paying their employees to keep them working. And the Republicans want to do this for all small businesses that have had their revenues cut 50% or more. Now, hopefully this means that billionaires like Kanye West and his brand won't get another Yeezy $2 million from the program. And not to mention authors like Robert Kiyosaki, the guy who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, who got anywhere between 300 grand to $1 million to pay for his 11 employees, which doesn't sound that bad, were it not for the fact that he called the Paycheck Protection Program socialism for the rich. Hey, I didn't say socialism was bad. I just think it's bad when I can't profit from it. Oh my God, I hope they don't sue me for telling you that. Republicans also want to give incentives to both the companies and the individuals to come back to work. And I'm not sure how one payment of a couple $100 extra is going to incentivize people when they can make over $1,000 to stay at home. But on top of that, Republicans also want to include $16 billion for testing, which I think is just rookie numbers. We got to pump those numbers way up. Tutski. But overall, the Senate wants to spend no more than $1 trillion. Meanwhile, the House wants to spend, yes, they just want to spend anywhere between $2 to $3 trillion. Unfortunately, we're going to reduce people's incomes at a time when there are still over 1 million people a week claiming unemployment benefits. When the pandemic is getting worse, people are getting more sick, more and more people are ending up in hospitals. The data is there. You can literally check for yourself at marketplace.org. But opinions aside regarding what you believe about the unemployment benefits, whether it's too much or too little, there's some interesting data that just recently came out, because in the months of May and June, 70% of the people that returned back to work were getting paid more not working and just staying at home, and they still returned to work. So the argument that people just want to stay at home and do nothing is not supported by the data that we're seeing. So the Senate's fear that people are just going to be lazy and do nothing isn't exactly what we're seeing. The reason people are not staying at home, even though they're earning more money, is because ultimately people just want their jobs back. No one wants to stay at home and do nothing, or at least most people don't. Because the rationale is, I'd rather go back to work today and make a little bit less money rather than wait at home until my benefits expire, and then when I do go back to work realize that someone replaced my job and I no longer have one. People are realizing that staying at home is actually the bigger risk. And I know it seems like the right course of action is to preserve the balance sheet and to encourage people to get back to work. Cutting people's incomes right now is not going to save the government that much money, and it's about to have a terrible effect on the economy. And that's because when the bills are due and people can't pay, when people start losing homes and they have nowhere to go, that's when things get really bad. And that's actually happening right now. Because just this Saturday, the freeze on being evicted for not being able to pay your rent is over, and those people are no longer protected. 110 million Americans are actually renters, and I'm one of them. But now, 20% of those people are at risk for being evicted. And when this happens, there will be a huge surge of people losing homes. Come August, if renters can't pay all the payments that they missed, and if they can't catch up, that's when landlords can begin the official eviction process, and they first have to legally give a 30 days notice. And if at that point the renter does not move, that's when they can begin to file an official complaint with the courts, which would be at the end of August or early September, so people have potentially until then to make enough money to maybe catch up. But if you can't, and if you're one of the people who might potentially be in trouble, please go to www.don'tgetkickedout.com. That's literally the name of the website that I found while watching one of Hasan Minhaj's specials on Netflix. It's a phenomenal resource, and you should know your rights. And the other resource that you should use when it comes to the economy and the numbers and the pandemic is marketplace.org. Please use both of those resources. They're amazing. Another potential issue is with the unemployment benefits, and that's because the Republicans want that 70% hyper-specific criteria, which is going to be very difficult to implement efficiently. And that's because the government does not have enough resources nor the manpower to look at your and I's income manually and determine exactly how much we should be getting, nor are they capable of building a website that actually works and does it automatically, because it's the government and nothing ever works. That's because everyone knows when you owe money to the IRS, you're going to jail yesterday. But if they owe you money, then, well, you might get it tomorrow, next year, maybe. There's still some people who have not got their first stimulus checks. So instead, what this means for you and I is that they'll have to settle on a number that's flat, based probably on the US average income, rather than catered to our incomes independently. And that's where I get the $200 to $300 a week from, and I'll be very surprised if it's anything other than that. So the theme here is still very much in line with 2020. We got problems on problems on problems on problems, but it doesn't have to be depressing because misery loves company. So you can join my Discord and we can both be miserable together. I'm just kidding. But that Discord channel is probably the most human contact I've had since the beginning of this pandemic. But it doesn't all have to be sad, because you can get 3 free stocks, 2 from Webull, 1 for signing up. But if you fund your account $100, you get another free stock valued up to $1,400 in value. You can get a 3rd free stock from Robinhood, and maybe if you're lucky, you could sell those stocks and maybe pay for rent. Either way, that's 3 free stocks. You can also follow me on Instagram. I post there from time to time. So not to finish on a depressing note or anything like that, but can you believe everything that's happened in 2020 already? I feel betrayed. I sat in 2019 counting down to 2020 saying, Happy New Year. Little did I know, I was tipping somebody and they were spitting in my face. It's frustrating, but I know we'll get through this, and what's really helping me a lot is just going to the gym and taking care of myself, so I hope you're staying with it, and I know this will all be over soon and we can be social again and socialize with other humans. Enjoy the rest of your week. Love you. Thank you so much for watching my videos. I will see you back here on Monday and Friday. Bye-bye.